Hi, everyone. I'm Chelsea from Parsons Entrepreneur Academy. Thank you so much for joining us today for our monthly office hour series. Tonight, we are so excited to be working with our wonderful partners, the Freelancers Union and Parsons Continuing and Professional Education, to bring you this webinar. So here on our platform, we invite successful and inspiring entrepreneurs and leaders to share their stories and the lessons they've learned along the way. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, Parsons Entrepreneur Academy is a platform that empowers creative entrepreneurs like yourself to build sustainable businesses around your art. And we achieve this through our three pillars that include mentoring, training, and community. You can visit parsonsentrepreneur.com to learn more about our platform. And now I would like to introduce Lloyd Lesperance, the Chief of Staff at Freelancers Union, to tell you more about Freelancers Union. Hi, Lloyd.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lloyd Lesperance. I'm the Chief of Staff at the Freelancers Union. We are a national organization that focuses on advocacy and education for freelancers. One of our main advocacy points is fighting for non-payment on behalf of freelancers. And we've passed laws at the local level and looking to pass laws at the state level called the Freelancers and Free Act, which focuses on getting non-payment for freelancers, making sure that every freelancer for every job that's $250 or more has a contract or written contract. And that if an employer does not pay you within 30 days, that you do have recourse or you have an avenue to go to get that payment. Beyond that, we also offer local community groups in different cities across the country. Right now, we are in about 10 cities, including Atlanta, LA, Seattle, Portland, here in Brooklyn, as well as other cities across the country. And that's just about like having a meetup group in a community so that we can bring freelancers together to discuss ideas, network, and work on different skill sets. And one of our main focuses is education. So we have what's called the Freelancers Hub, which is a unique partnership with the city of New York, where we provide free educational classes for freelancers, such as finances to legal clinics on how to write a contract and read a contract, to branding and marketing and things like this that we're doing today, which is like business plans. The whole idea of the Freelancers Hub is to provide you with business classes and legal classes and things that you need and tools that you can use as a freelancer in the real world. And we also have free co-working that we're hoping to open soon here in Brooklyn within the next couple months. But with that, that is pretty much it. And I can't wait to see the rest of the class.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lloyd. So tonight, we are super happy to welcome back one of our esteemed partners, Shani Syphrett-Haynes. It is really great to have her back to present the easiest way to write a business plan as an artist. For all of you who are attending tonight's webinar, we are providing you with a free downloadable PDF of the business model canvas framework that Shani will be using for this webinar. So look out for that link in the chat to download that file. So what you can expect during the webinar, Shani is going to present for 40 to 45 minutes, followed by a 15 to 20 minute Q&A session. If you guys could please leave your questions in the Q&A box, which you can find at the bottom of your Zoom window. Any questions submitted in the chat might be missed, so please use the Q&A box. You can also look at submitted questions in that box and hit the like function underneath of them. The questions that receive the most likes will be upvoted and prioritized. But really quickly, now I just want to introduce our instructor, Shani Syphrett-Haynes. Shani is an award-winning brand marketer and business strategist. She has spent over 10 years building marketing campaigns and setting growth strategies for brands like Samsung, Chase, Maybelline, Gap, State Farm, HBO, Nike, and Essence Magazine. And she currently leads global brand marketing at Pinterest. Shani is also an entrepreneur and a small business coach, and her consulting firm, Jamila Studio, supports diverse creative entrepreneurs in growing their businesses. Shanae studied undergraduate biology and psychology at the University of Pennsylvania and graduate level interior architecture at the Boston Architectural College, and is an ICF trained professional coach. She lives in Brooklyn, New York with her husband and many books. And now I will hand it over to Shanae, who is going to give more background on her experience and dive right into tonight's webinar content. So enjoy, everyone.
Hey, everyone. Super excited to be here with you and to dive into the easiest way to build a business plan as an artist. So I'm going to share my screen and do the thing where I ask you if you can see it. So give me 1 second. Are you all seeing my screen? I can see the chat, so if you just give me a yes, great. Okay, so today we're going to talk about building a creative business model, or AKA the easiest way to write a business plan as an artist or anyone who creates for a living. So before we start, I just want you to honor your energy and honor your experience. I don't know where you are coming from today. It could be the beginning of your day. It could be it's close to the end of the day for me. But I just want to make sure that you are present in the way that you can be here. So if that means turning off your computer, if that means just listening while you have things in the background. And I also want to honor your experience. So I'm going to give you a lot of information today, and I want you to take the things that feel really relevant to you. Okay, so I thank Chelsea so much for introing me. I'm going to switch my intro up a little bit, and I'm going to give you something that I like to call a valuable intro. So my name is Shani Syphrett-Haynes. I tell culturally relevant and personally resonant stories for diverse audiences at scale. I help creative people become better business people. And I hold space for professional creatives to achieve business and personal growth. So you might have realized here I didn't give you titles because I introduced myself based on my values. So I do the culturally relevant and resonant stories as a brand marketer at Pinterest. I help creative people become business people, better business people as a teacher, which I'm doing now. And then through my small business, I'm a creative business coach. But if there is just one thing that you leave here knowing about succeeding in your creative business, I want it to be this. We think about sitting in wherever we are doing this creative work, and it could be tiring, it could be lonely, it could feel like we're never going to get to that other side of working on a beach and having 4-hour days or whatever level of success is for you. So I want you to know that that is not magic. It is not, and it is not something reserved for only a few people. Anybody can have whatever level of success they want to have in their creative career. And it's really about understanding what it means to deliver value. Okay. So now let's get into the details of what we're going to learn for the next 30 or so minutes. So I'm going to give you a practical breakdown of a business model. I'm going to give you 3 examples of creative business models you can borrow as you develop your own. There are going to be some frequently asked business model questions. So I've been teaching this workshop for the past 5 years. So I'm going to get ahead of some of your questions, but also make sure that you drop your questions in the question and answer box. I'm going to give you some homework, some thought starters so that you can build your own creative business model. Some open coaching questions to expand possibilities. So I might ask a question and might ask you just to drop your answer in the chat, just to get a read on what everyone's feeling in the room. And then, as Chelsea mentioned, there will be time at the end for you to ask me any questions. Sounds good? Let me get a yes, so I know that you're here with me. Great, amazing, amazing, amazing. Okay, so I have an open question for you. Right now, what's stopping you from running your dream business? Money, absolutely. Trying, unsure what the business is, a day job, nothing, consistency, time, lots of things, frustration, student loans, free time, connections, fear. disability, there are a lot of things that can stop you from running your dream business. But one of the most prevalent things is normally because you're in your head. You think you need to get it perfect. You don't know where to start. You're overthinking things. You think you can't do it while you're doing something else. It's really time to get out of your head. And today, I got you. I got y'all. So we're going to do it. We're going to get you out of your head. We're going to get pen to paper, which is why I love working with business models, because it's really about being active and creating the business that you want. Okay, so business is creative, right? So we're going to build our business models today. We're going to actively come up with a strategy in just one page. So business plans are great, but I think it sometimes gets us stuck in those overthinking. So we're going to build your business model today. So what's a business model? So a business model describes how a business creates, delivers, and captures value. Very easy. I'm going to break down each of those things today. But I also want to give you examples. So I don't want this to be all theoretical for you. I want to give you examples of artists and creative business models that you can borrow and start to build on your own. So we'll start with a designer. So this is Justina Blakely. She owns a company called The Jungalow. She designs home decor. A freelancer, Mark C. is a photographer. When you think of freelancer, this could be anyone whose product is them. So, if you do any kind of creative work where you work for individuals or you work for companies, so let's say you're a freelancer or you own a small agency or you're a consultant, and then we'll have the content creator. So this is something that is more prevalent today, people who create content for a living. So these are the three examples that we're going to run through for today. So every time we break down a specific part of the business model, I want to make sure that I give you concrete examples of how this works for these three personas. Okay, so the business model canvas, what Chelsea shared in the chat, let's make sure that you have that, is the tool that we're going to be using today to describe, design, challenge, and pivot our business model until it works. So don't think you have to get it all correct at this point in time. This is something that is easily Googleable if you can't find it today, something that you should continuously work on, continuously tear apart. We're going to break down the components today. So as it is, it looks blank, just like this. If you can't find it, if you can't directly connect with it, it's very easy to Google as well. So if you don't have access to it right away, very easy to Google. But blank, it looks pretty overwhelming because it's like, where do I start? What do these boxes even mean? How do I know I'm doing it correctly? So I'm going to break it down. I like to break it down into three sections. So the create value, the deliver value, and the capture value. So what is value? When we say value, what do we mean by that? Often we hear, make sure you're charging your worth, make sure you're finding your target audience. But really what it comes down to is how are we making sure that we are giving value and bringing value to ourselves? So value is specific. Value can be all the things, or it can be none of the things. You really want to get specific about what is valuable to you, what value do you deliver? So value comes from solving a problem, satisfying a want or a need, providing something special, or aligning with a personal belief. So what's valuable to you? So it could be money. It could just be like the dollar. You need money to eat, to buy nice things for yourself, to feel secure. It could also be just controlling your time. Maybe you want to work from home. Maybe you want to work a couple of hours a day. Maybe you want to work you want to be able to work a certain type of job. And it could be personal fulfillment. So, are you doing things that's making you happy? So as you're thinking about building a business, think not only about what's valuable to the people that you're selling to, but how can you make your business valuable to you too? It is something that you're going to have to do all the time. and we think about what's valuable to customers, let's look at our examples again. So for our designer, it's vibrant, limited edition home decor. For our freelancer, it's expressive images that represent culture. And for our creator, it's a captive audience of ambitious Black women. And we'll talk a little bit about, for creators, who the specific customer is, because it might not be who you think. So as a homework thought starter, I want you to open up the lens of how you think about value in your business, not just for your customers, but for you as well. You want to make sure that you're looking to either solve a problem, satisfy a want or a need, provide something special, or support a personal value or belief. So, solving a problem might be someone's hungry and they want a really good cheeseburger. So you're solving a problem for them. You might provide them something special by having, a special kind of cheese on the cheeseburger that they might not have known existed, or might be a treat from a regular cheeseburger. Maybe your cheeseburger has Gouda. But you can also support a personal belief. So maybe this person really is into locally sourced meat, or they're into businesses that are owned by people of color. So you can also, the value that you bring can also be around people's personal value and belief. Okay, so digging into delivering value. So on the right side of our canvas. So delivering value, when you get your business model canvas, it's often like, where do I start? I like to start with the value proposition and the customer segment. So your customer segment is, who does your product or service serve? So if anytime anyone's ever said to you, who's your ideal customer, this is what they're referring to. And then your value proposition is, how is your product or service valuable to your customers? So not just valuable in general, you want to make sure that your product or service is valuable to your specific customer. Because value is personal. What's valuable to me might not be valuable to you, which means I might be a customer for someone else's business, and I might not, subscribe or want to buy into your business. You really want to make sure that you make value personal to your customer. So I have an open question. Who's easier to sell to? So we have small business owners, museum curators, millennial women, or techies. I love to hear from you. Drop it in the chat. Who's easier to sell to? Techies. All of them are hard. Millennial women, techies, small business owners, millennial women, techies, millennial women, techies. Seems like mostly people think techies are easier to sell to. So I like to say that was a trick question, because we don't know anything else about them beyond their title. We have no idea who these people are. So it's easier to sell to multi-dimensional human beings, right? We don't want to just sell to small business owners. We want to key in on who they are. So first-time bakery owner from Ohio, we know that, maybe as a first-time owner, they might be a little bit skeptical about their purchases. Because they're own bakeries, you might be able to get them to buy into your expertise around running a bakery or the supplies that you sell. And then being in Ohio, they might be looking for someone locally. We don't want to just sell to museum curators. We want to sell to a senior curator at a private museum who loves graffiti. We don't want to just sell to millennial women. We want to sell to a Black millennial working mom with sensitive skin. And we don't want to just sell to techies. We want to sell to Jim, the career gamer and YouTube reviewer. So as you can see, the more that we dive into who our customers are, the more information, yes, Jim, it could be you, Jim Levy. the more information we have about these people, the better we can speak to them. So we're not just speaking to a general millennial woman, we're speaking to a Black millennial mom, working mom with sensitive skin. So that might mean she needs a specific type of product. That might mean she needs quick things on the go. We don't want to just sell to a curator. We want to sell to someone who works at a private museum who loves graffiti, which means her budget might be smaller, but it also means that she might be interested in experimental art. So the more you can get to know about your customer, the better you can position your value for them. So who's the customer? Going back to our examples, for our designer, it's people who live in apartments and love art. For our freelancer, it's a global lifestyle brand who is culture forward. And for our creator, it's companies that target Black women. So the more we can get specific about who our customer is, the better we can reach out to them. Make sure that you're dropping, Myra, I see your question, make sure you're dropping it into the Q&A so I can get to it at the end. So a question that I get all the time is, especially for content creators, is my audience consider my customer? So if you create content on the internet and people are liking it, people are listening to it, and people are watching it, wanting to know if these people are your customer. So the simple answer is a customer provides revenue in exchange for value. So if your audience does not pay you to access your content, they're not your customer. Okay, so if someone who likes something on your Instagram page is not your customer, or someone who listens to your podcast is not your customer. Often content creators, they typically make money by providing a brand or a business access to their audience through some form of advertising. So the content creator is a podcaster. Her name is Nicaila Matthews, and she does a podcast called Side Hustle Pro. So her audience are not the Black women entrepreneurs that she interviews, or the Black women entrepreneurs who listen to her podcast. They're just her audience. Her customer are brands that want to talk to these Black women entrepreneurs because she can put an ad to sell. Maybe she's working with Visa and they're selling new credit cards, or maybe she's working with someone who wants to do a personal finance class. So they pay for access to her audience. But you can monetize your audience and convert them to customers by offering something valuable, a valuable product or service. And Nicaila actually has done that beyond just her podcast. She's decided to monetize her audience by offering a class where she teaches other people how to create a profitable podcast. So very basically, your audience is not your customer. Your customers are the people who pay you money. You can turn them into your customer by offering them a product, but until someone pays you money, they are technically not your customer. So interestingly enough, when you think of social media platforms, Facebook, you don't pay Facebook anything. So technically you're not Facebook's customer. So homework thought starters, as we're thinking about who our customer is, often, it can get really confusing when you're like, I want to talk to everyone. I'm not sure who my customer is. Start with just that one person. So we talked about in our examples, who was easy to sell to. Excuse me, I gave you those quick breakdowns of the personas of people that you could sell to. So ask yourself these questions. What's their occupation? Where do they live? What's their biggest pain point? How are they making decisions? What do they personally value? So these are just example questions, but you really want to get deep into who your customer is, so you know how your product or service is valuable to them. And we'll get into like, knowing who your customer is also will help you reach them when it comes to marketing, when it comes to sales, when it comes to distributing your stuff. You really want to get as specific as you possibly can. We went from as broad to techies down to as detailed as like knowing who Jim is. You want to get really, really specific. So start by starting with one customer. Like if you are at the very beginning of your journey, pick one customer. If you have been working with people for a while, look at the customers that you've worked with before that you really liked working with, so you can start to build a persona around those customers. Okay, so when we talk about what's valuable, a value proposition pairs a specific customer with a specific value, because value is personal. What's valuable to me might not be valuable to you. So when we think about our examples, So for the designer, the Jungalow, which is her brand, her business, it provides vibrant limited edition home decor. So that's the value to the customer for bohemian urban dwellers who host guests often. And that's the specific customer. So she's not just providing home decor, she's providing a vibrant limited edition home decor. And then specifically to people who live in urban areas who bring people to their house often and want to have conversation starters. Maybe they don't have a lot of money to invest in large scale art, or they don't have a lot of space. So the Jungalow provides them these limited edition things that show off their taste in art and also are good conversation starters. So when we talk about our freelancer, so our service provider, so Mark, he works with global lifestyle brands who want to express images that represent their artists. So specifically for him, he's not just working with any brand, he's working with brands that have a global scale. And then he's working with brands that it's really important for them to be able to represent the audiences that they sell to. So they don't just want any photos, they want expressive photos that really capture the diversity of their consumer. And then for Side Hustle Pro, that our content creator, as we said, she provides a captive audience for potential buyers for companies that target Black women. So, her audience are not her customer. Her customers are the brands that want to speak to her audience. So as she's creating content, she's building her audience, she's nurturing them, and then she's picking brands that align with her values to advertise to her audience. And those are the people who pay her money. So they're her customer. Okay, so again, homework thought starter. Start to think about how would you write your value proposition statement. And I love these because these are your elevator pitches. This is how you explain the value of your business in one sentence. So when someone asks what you do, you can easily rattle this off. So there are two ways that you can write it. You can write, my product or service provides my specific value for specific customers, or you can write, I work with specific customers who want my specific value. So very easy. Here's your elevator pitch. Here's how you quickly describe who you work with and what your value is. Okay. So now that we've got down who our customer is, how we're valuable to them, we want to make sure that when we find them and they understand our value, that they can buy our stuff. So we want to make sure that we can design the buy. Cool. So designing the buy is about knowing what our relationship will be with our customer and also the channels that we're going to deliver our value proposition to them. So our customer relationships, it's how you want to establish and maintain your relationships with your customer segments. So this could be one-on-one customer service. It could be a one-on-one working relationship with them. You could package your service where you sell just one thing and everybody has to buy that one thing. Or you sell a couple of things and it's packaged in one specific way, like a bed in the bag. If you ever had to buy a comforter, I don't know if people still buy bed in the bags, but you know that when you go to the store, you got to buy everything that's in the bed in the bag, which is very different from like a customized set or a customized service where you come in and there might be a menu of services that you can pick from. And that's how you get your customers. Or it could be self-service where, someone doesn't get any customer service. They're literally just picking things off of a shelf. Or if you have like a digital storefront, like if you're an e-commerce person, someone just goes in, they choose what they want. You can have a one-off transaction where someone buys just one thing from you and they might never buy it again. Think of things like a mattress, or think of things like someone who, like for wedding planners, they normally work on one-off transactions unless you're getting married again, but that's normally a one-off transaction. Or you can have membership things. So like maybe, you own a gym and you need people to continuously buy from you. They're going to be have a membership. Also, there's a thing called co-creation. So let's say, for instance, mostly if you work with, if you're a freelance service provider, you're doing co-creation. So people come to you and they might have a specific ask, but they don't know exactly what they need. And then you create a special program or a special proposal to work with them. So let's look at our examples. So what's the relationship? So for designers, it's mostly one-off transactions. So the person creates something, they sell it, and you just buy what they create. And you might buy it just one time. So like maybe you buy a chandelier, maybe you buy a painting. It's often one-off transactions. And a lot of times it's self-service. So if you have an e-commerce business and you're selling your t-shirts, people don't have any interaction with you. They basically are just using your website to buy your t-shirt. And then it's normally one-to-many customer services. So everyone doesn't have like a personal relationship with you as they're buying from you. They're normally either buying from your website, or they're buying from a trade show that you're in, or they're buying from a pop-up shop. You are normally working across many customers at one time. For our freelancer, our service provider is customized services. So someone might come to you with an issue, or they need a brand, and you build a customized service plan for them, or you co-create a plan for them. And maybe they're early in their business and they're not sure exactly what they need. Or for instance, if you are a makeup artist, you're customizing what you're giving to the person that you're doing their makeup for. And it's a one-to-one service. So you're working one-to-one with this person. They're having individual access to you. So that's normally the type of relationship that people have with freelancers. With content creators, as you're working with brands, it might be a customized or might be a package service. So you might offer all brands a specific ad type on your podcast, or a specific ad type on your newsletter. Or you might do customized services or co-creative services if a brand approaches you and says, really like your style, really like the ways that you engage with your audience. Can you do a social post for me? Or can you promote something for me? Content creators also might have memberships. So not all content creators use Instagram or Facebook or even TikTok. Some people are using Patreon, or some people are using Medium. So you have to subscribe to get their content. We showed the Issa Rae example in the beginning. Issa Rae in the very beginning, she was doing Awkward Black Girl on YouTube. You could watch it for free on YouTube. And then she decided to monetize her audience. And she put the episodes behind a paywall. So you had to either buy one-off her episodes, or you had to sign up for a membership to get her next episode. So for content creators, when they're working with brands, is normally a one-to-one connection. When they're working with, for instance, if they have a Patreon, or if they have some kind of subscription model, they're working one creator to many people. Okay, so then when it comes to the channel, so when we're thinking about how we're delivering our product and service to our customers, it can be direct to your customer or indirect. So, and this is in person, online, or online. So for example, direct would be through your website, through your storefront, you.com, directly to your customer. Indirectly is if you're working with like some kind of platform or a wholesaler, like a retailer, who is helping you get to your customer. So for instance, if you teach a class on something like Skillshare, you don't have direct access to your customers because they're buying your class through Skillshare. So it's important to know, your channels as you're thinking about how you're going to market and sell to your customers. Because we have sales phases. So if you've ever heard anything about a marketing funnel or a sales funnel, this is the basics of how someone goes from a stranger to a customer to someone who's like an advocate. So they don't know you, then they go through awareness where they find out about you, then they go through evaluation, which is them deciding whether or not you are the person that they want to work with, or you are the person that they want to buy from. And then conversion is when they actually give you money to buy your product or service, then you deliver it to them, and then they either become loyal customers or people who recommend you. So when we think about channels, we don't want to think about just how we deliver them, but when we're going to deliver them, and what phase people are in the sales process. So I often get this question, what should I do about marketing? There are so many things that people can do. People can use Pinterest, people can use Instagram, you can use PR, it could be events, it could be reviews. There are so many things. Marketing has so many shiny objects that you could subscribe to, or you could test out. So how do you know what you should choose, where you should start? And you really want your marketing strategy to be based on the type of channel. So whether it's a direct channel or an indirect channel, whether you're sending people directly to your website or you're sending people to a third party that will then, or like a third party is connecting you to your customers. You want to know who your customers are. So when we got to making sure that we were very, very detailed about who our customers are, we don't want to market in New York if our customers are in Ohio. We don't want to market on Facebook if we know our customers are 70 years old or maybe 20 years old and aren't on Facebook. So you really want to make sure you know who your customers are, and then you want to know what phase they're in the journey. So are they at the awareness phase, where they have no idea who you are? You want to market very differently to people who are in the awareness phase than to people who are at the conversion phase when they're ready to buy from you. And you want to know what relationships you want to build with them. Is it a long-term relationship? Is it a self-service relationship? That will determine how much you invest in the type of marketing channels you're picking. So this is a general overview. This is like, as you're thinking about, okay, how should I market? Where should I market? What should I invest in? You want to think about where someone is in your sales journey. What channel are you, what types of channel are you targeting them? Is it a direct channel? Is it an indirect channel? Who these people are they even paying attention to LinkedIn? Because if they're not on LinkedIn, don't market to them on LinkedIn. You're going to waste their time. So you really want to build a marketing strategy before you decide that you want to move forward with a specific marketing channel. Okay, so back to our examples. What's the channel? So designers, it's easy to, or it's beneficial to market on search engines. So Google, for example, when someone types good vibes home, and you have, the bohemian aesthetic like the Jungalow has, you want to make sure your SEO is right. You want to make sure that your content is right, so that when they go to Google and they Google these specific words, you are the person who pops up. But you can also buy ads on Google. And the great thing about Google is when someone is searching for something specific, they're ready to buy. So Google is a great place. And also Pinterest. I will say Pinterest is a great place for, people who sell products or people who are ready to buy things, because they can search for you and they'll find you. As a freelancer, your website is a great place to show off your portfolio. You want to show people the work that you can do. And because you have a one-on-one relationship with them, it's easy to send them this link to your website if you're connecting to them for email, or, if we ever get out and about the way that we used to be, connecting to them with your card or your LinkedIn. You want to be able to show people your portfolio, and a website is a really good marketing channel for that. And then for content creators, it's social platforms. So, being able to keep up with your content on the platforms where you can build your audience and also attract your brand customers. So whether it's Instagram or TikTok or Twitter, there's so many out there now, or Pinterest, you want to make sure that you are using the content platforms as a way to not only market, but also show off what you do. So I'm always going to say Pinterest is good for creators, because I'm completely biased, but absolutely Pinterest is good for creators. Okay, so once we design the buy, we want to bring in the money, right? So we talked about our customer segments. We talked about our value proposition. We talked about our channels and our customer relationships. We want to dive deep into revenue. How are you making money from delivering your value? So the beauty is you get to decide how much money you'll make. That is your decision. And there are two types of revenue. There's time-dependent revenue and time-independent revenue. Time-dependent revenue means that you need to work you need to be present to get the money. So these are things like freelancing or consultations, live performances, live workshops like I'm doing right now. That's a form of time-dependent revenue, whether you're event hosting or doing pop-up events. And then there's time-independent revenue. So these are things that you prepare for in advance and then people buy into over time. So whether it's books or magazines, prints, templates, if you're doing licensing, if you're doing like subscriptions or membership, if you're doing rentals. So these are equally good. It really depends on how you want to run your business and how you want to spend your time. So let's look at our examples. So the revenue streams for our designer could be commission work, which is a time-dependent revenue stream. So you have to actually paint the thing or build the thing when you take commissions. But you have time-independent things like product sales or wholesales or licensing. The freelancer is often time-dependent work, so contract work or commission work. But you can also do time-independent work. So like if you're like Mark and you have photos, you can sell your photos. Like I have one of Mark's prints behind me. So you can sell that once you've already captured it. And that's time-independent. And then for your content creator, it's a mix of both. So you can do commission work where you're creating specific things for the brands that you're working with. You can do speaking engagements. These are things that take your time. But then there's also advertising, which is you record one advertisement and you share it on all your platforms, or you put it on multiple episodes of your podcast. Or like I said, how Nikayla does with Side Hustle Pro, she's monetized her audience by making digital courses. So when we're thinking about, what revenue stream we want, what revenue stream is good for us, you get to decide. So you want to ask yourself, does this fit my lifestyle? Is it aligned with my purpose and my values? Is it compatible with my customers, knowing who my customers are? Is this type of revenue, like is doing commission work something that they want, or do they just want me to pick things for them? Does it contribute to the changes you want to see in the world? So when we think about how can this be valuable to you, you can also decide whether or not you want to choose a revenue stream based on your personal value. Does it inspire or excite you? Does it take advantage of your strengths and what comes naturally to you? Your business is part of your personal growth. So you want to make sure that you are leveraging your strengths and doing the things that feel good to you. And will it get you closer to your goals? So if you know that you don't have a lot of time, maybe you don't want to invest in so much time-dependent revenue. Maybe you want to have one time-dependent revenue stream and you want to have something that you can sell over and over again, because maybe your business is just a side project that you do, or maybe your business is just a part-time thing that you do. Okay, so when we think of our thought starters, we want to choose at least 2 revenue streams. So I say 2 revenue streams because you want to test things out. Maybe something is not going to work for you, and you don't want to be stuck with the one revenue stream that doesn't work. So choose at least 2 revenue streams for your business, and make sure you're using those questions to make sure that they're good for your customer and they're good for you personally. So, we are at the 6:45 mark, and we do have the second half of the Canvas to go to. So if anyone has to jump, I really appreciate the time that you spent with us. I'm going to go through the rest, the second half of the Canvas, but make sure that you're putting in your questions. Okay, so then when we go to actually building the thing, so we've delivered the value, we want to actually build it. You want to develop your minimum viable product. So your minimum viable product is the product with just enough features to be used by early customers to provide feedback for future improvements. So you just want to start, get some things out there, get some tests. Let's look at a comparison of something that started in 1995 and what it was last year. So if anyone has seen this, this is what Amazon looked like when it first came out. Before Jeff Bezos was the mega billionaire that he is, this was his first iteration of Amazon. And this is what it looks like now. So you want to continue to iterate on your product, but you want to get it out there first. Don't wait till it's perfect, because there's no such thing as perfect. Even like we think about now, if you go to Amazon right now, it does not look like what it looked like in 2021 because it keeps improving. So when we think about creating value, that's the building of things. You want, what activities do you need? What resources do you have? What partners do you need to connect with? And what do you have to pay for? What are your operating costs? So when we think about the activities, what's part of the job for each of our examples, the designer, the freelancer, the content creator. The designer, she's just creating things. So she might be in a workshop. The freelancer, he's taking photos. The content creator, she's recording things. She's bringing on guests. You know, we really want to think about what's part of the thing that this person has to do to make money. And then we jump into what's in the toolkit. What resources do they need? This could be physical, intellectual, human, or financial. What partners do you need? This could be complementary, so someone who adds to what you do. So maybe if you're a writer, you need someone who does visuals, and that's a partner for you. It could be competitive. You know, there are people who are in networking groups that if I'm a photographer and I can't do the work, I have a friend or I have a connection that we refer work to each other when we're busy. And there's capital partners, people who give you money. So if you ever think of, you know, investors or a loan, like people who give you loans. And then you need to figure out how much stuff is going to cost. So there are 4 types of operating costs. So you have your business expenses, so things like computers, microphones, equipment. You have your service and your product expenses. So that's anything that you use to specifically create a product or service. So for instance, if you were a fashion designer, you know, your computer and your pens and your paper are your business expenses. But in order to create your product, you need fabric. So that's a specific expense. And this comes really important as you're thinking about taxes. So you want to make sure that you're looking at all of your operating costs, because you got to pay taxes. And then the last thing, operating costs, that a lot of people don't think about is you have to pay yourself. So whether you take money out of your company or you create payroll for your company, you have to pay yourself. And you don't pay yourself just with profits. You need to make sure that you're giving yourself a living wage. So in all the things that you're creating, you need to make sure that you are setting aside a percentage part of that, the way that you're pricing things so that you can pay yourself. So homework thought starters. You want to write down all the things that you do for the day, for your business for 1 week. I tell my clients to do a task study, because a lot of times you are not realizing the things that you do for your business. And then once you do that, you want to pair each of the tasks with a resource, a partner, and a cost, so that you know all the things that go into building out your business. This also becomes really helpful when you want to hire people to help you, because you can realize, hey, on Mondays, I'm spending all my time doing marketing, or I'm spending all my money trying to design this one piece of graphic, when I can hire someone to help me. So I often get the question, is this person a partner, or is this person a customer? So if you're exchanging your value proposition, then it's a customer. So I'm selling jeans, someone buys jeans, they're a customer. If someone is giving you money to help you manufacture the jeans, but they're not paying for the jeans, then they are a partner. So these are your investors. These are like if you get loans. These are like if you get favors from people, or this is like if you're working with a partner to help you create things. And then if you owe this person later, if you're not giving them product, or if they come on before you have a product or before you even pay money, then they're a partner. So it's important to realize the difference between, again, a customer gives you money for your product. A partner will give you money to help you get the work done. Okay, so bear with me. So I also get the question of how much, should you charge for things? So you really want to make sure that you're breaking down your expenses, how much you pay for yourself, your taxes, and your profit margins. So all of that should go into when you think about how much you want to pay, how much you want to charge someone for something. How much is it going to cost you to make? How much are you going to pay for taxes? How much do you want to pay yourself? Because that's different from your profit margin, and how much profit that you want to make that you can use to reinvest in your business. So your operating cost is separate from your profit. Okay, so thank you so much. That was a lot that I put into the workshop. I really appreciate you all bearing with me. I'm excited to get to your questions, but we have gone through all of the business model canvas, and I just want to show you everything in action, what we did, right? So back to our examples. They each have unique business models. So we started off with a very, very blank canvas. We opened it up. We broke down all of the pieces. I gave you examples. And then we dug into what each person did. So for our designer, they had a product model. They sold one-off products. They're, reaching out to retailers. They're building on their website. They're partnering with an interior designers. This is a business model. The Jungalow is, if you are a designer and you're creating product, this is what your business model could look like. If you are a service provider, if you are a freelancer, we broke down what someone like Mark needs to put into their business model in order for it to work. So his website is really important for him. He wants to drive home the value. Why he's unique is because he's doing these expressive images. He might partner with other freelancers, and the money that he makes is through his contract work, and he could sell prints, but he needs to make sure that he's also paying for things like equipment and web hosting. And then last but not least, our content creator business model. So she can have two different customer segments. So she can, sell ad space to brands to target her audience, but she can also monetize her audience by teaching things like a course. So think about which of these best fit for you. Are you a designer who's creating products that you can sell one-off? Could be self-service. You might not have a deep relationship, but you're doing more things that are time independent. Are you a freelancer or a service-based person who, will sell your services? You might be creating customized products. Or are you a content creator? You're creating content. You are building an audience. You're selling ads, or you're creating bespoke content for brands so they can reach your audience. And then you could potentially monetize by teaching people to do what you do. Okay, so I'm a little over, but I want to thank you all for sticking in there. I think I got through a lot of things. I'm glad that you all are really understanding the concept. I want you to hold this, not something that you have to answer to me now, but what's the next step to realizing your business vision? What's the next step to get out of your head and get to your business goals? So if you want more of me, you can follow me on the socials at Shani Syphrett. Check out my business coaching, but I do want to open it up right now for any questions for people who held on. Hey, Chelsea, I'm ready to tackle some questions.
Awesome. Yeah, before we get to Q&A, I just want to thank you for that awesome presentation. It was so cool seeing the chat. people were getting so excited about business modeling and business planning, and I just love seeing that. And I want to give one final thank you to our wonderful partners for this webinar, Freelancers Union and Parsons Continuing and Professional Education. Yep. Hi, Lloyd. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you guys coming out for this webinar. And just a final reminder, Shanae is going to be getting to the Q&A now. So if you haven't already, please put your question in the Q&A box, and also feel free to upvote any questions that you want answered. So go ahead, Shanae.
Yeah, and I'm here for the next 30 minutes. So I thank you for bearing with all of the stuff that I went through. I'm going to go into the question box. Okay, my first question. How do you recommend navigating the intersections between these types of businesses? For example, if I want to sell custom design creations and create content to support that, where do I begin? So again, I'll reiterate this question. So this question is, if you want to do multiple things, so I would say start with one thing first, get really good at one thing first. So if you want to start with selling your t-shirts, or just selling anything as a designer product, create those things, figure out who your customer is. Maybe you use your content to help you market those things. Maybe you're using it to show people, you're creating lifestyle content to show people how it works. You're selling those things, and then maybe you're building an audience as you're selling those things. And then once you perfect the selling the stuff, they're bringing the money in to working with those customers, and you get that to a place where you don't feel like you need to tweak it anymore. You may be able to hire someone to help you so that you're not doing so much work. Then you can move on to like, okay, now that I have my audience built out, I have a revenue stream that pays me, I can hire people. Let me now move on to like figuring out who my next customer could be, which is, now that I have this audience, I can work with a brand to do some kind of partnership. So I would say one at a time. Okay, the next question. What do you mean, what's their biggest pain point when describing your dream customer? So for that question, what's their biggest pain point? You think of like, what's the thing that's like a pain in their butt that you could solve for them? What's a pain in the butt? Like I think about a pain in the butt for me is recipes. So like, I'm the type of person that's like, I want to be told what to make. I'm not a spontaneous cook. I need to be told what to make. So a big pain point for me is having a bunch of food and not knowing what to do with it. So you might be a content creator who is going to sell me some recipes. Like, oh, you're going to sell me your cookbook. So you are solving a pain point for me because you're answering, you are providing something that would be really helpful to me. Okay. I never thought of putting my own salary down as an expense. I always paid myself out of profit. Can you talk a little bit more about how to factor salary in without making one's prices too high? So I think too high is relative. So I think too high for who? Is it too high for the customer that you're currently working with? Do you need to explore new customers? Do you need to figure out how to create something that is more time independent so that you can sell more of it? So you can make more money. You want to make sure, it is really, really important to make sure that you have your own salary separate from your profit, especially when it comes to growing your business. Because ultimately, as a business owner, what you want to do is have the opportunity to replace yourself so that you can go on and create bigger things. Like, for example, the first question that I answered, what I said, the person wanted to start with selling t-shirts and then they wanted to create content. Once you get the t-shirt sales down to a science, you can hire an operations person to take care of that. So then you can create content. But if you're not paying yourself, then you have no money to pay an operations person when you want to bring them on. So you want to make sure that your salary, the salary to do the work, the job that you do, think of it the same way as if you were working at a company. You get paid a salary to do the job that you do. And that's very separate from the profit that is above and beyond your salary. So you always want to make sure your salary is covered, and then you can use your profit to do things like reinvest into your business, hire staff, buy new equipment, start a new line of things, give yourself a raise, give your employees a raise. When we think about factoring in our salary and making sure that our prices aren't too high, again, I said too high is relative. You want to make sure that you have a living wage. And you also want to make sure that you can sell your product or services. So you might need to consider, who else can I talk to bring in more money so I can pay myself a living wage, who won't think my price is too high? Okay, next question from Richie. I'm launching my online Shopify store soon. How important is the business plan? Can I have direction and make it without one? Why are they so hard to do? Why each time in past I tried, I only get frustrated and quit? Richie, I get you, which is why I like working with a business model, the business model canvas. So it's one page, you move stuff around, it's very easy to print those out and continue to iterate on them. And the great thing is that all those boxes in the business model canvas, they turn into pages in your business plan. So it's great to have a business plan when when you need to get investments, when like people need to check on your business. But if you're just beginning, the business model canvas is a great way to start. You're testing things out, you're seeing if it works. A business model, like doing a business plan, which is like however many pages long, I think they're like 20 pages long, they can get you stuck in the overthinking things. The business model canvas is a great way for you to just test things out. So I would say start there with your Shopify store. Figure out who your customer is, figure out what your value is to them, figure out how you're going to connect with them, figure out how you're going to bring in money, and then go to your creating value side and figure out what are the things that you need to do and pay for in order to get things done. And then you always want to make sure that your revenue is greater than your cost. Okay, so Coco Bean says, how do I do market research? I have channels dedicated to affirmation and manifestation. I need that research to determine where and how to drive traffic. Start with your customer. Figure out who your customer is. Like, who do you want to specifically talk to in the affirmation and manifestation space? Is it, the more specific you can get, the better. Is it single moms? Is it millennial women? Is it the techies? Is it the small business owners? You want to do your market research. I would say first start with, who do I want to talk to? Who do I want to connect with? Who do I want to make my customer? And then as you're researching, figure out, what can I do to make sure that my product or service is valuable to them? Okay, Myra says, where does specialization come in? The more we cater to one group, our niche, how do we sell at all? Okay, so I would say, a lot of people will say, focus on your niche or pick an ideal customer or specialize. I say, do one customer at a time. I think people get tripped up with, I don't want to be niche. I don't want to close off my services. I want to be able to sell to everyone, but they haven't sold to anyone. So I would say just try to sell to one customer at a time. Who's the one person that you want to work with right now? Who's the one type of person that you want to work with right now? Try to sell to one customer at a time. Figure out if you like selling to that customer. You might think, oh my God, I want to work with only Beyonce types. And then you work with a Beyonce and you realize that she's a nightmare to you. Like, you don't like the way that she works. You don't like the way that she gives feedback. You don't like any of those things. So I would say, before you get into let me sell to everybody, figure out the one customer that you want to sell to, figure out how to sell to that customer, and then see if you actually like that. Okay, so next we have Casey. Is this type of business plan good for a new freelancer looking for business loans? Any tips on language or making my business plan directed to lenders? So lenders normally want a business plan because they want to see financial projections. So they want to be able to see in writing that you can pay them back. So that's why they want a business plan. So you can use a business model canvas to start as I was mentioning, each of the boxes become a page in a business plan. But what lenders want is they want to see the financials, and they want to be able to see your financial projections. So they want to know, based on who your customer is, what your services are, what your revenue is, what is that going to look like in 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. And that's why lenders want a business plan, because they want that specific mostly that specific page that does financial projections. So you can use the business model canvas to start your business plan, because you got to work out a lot of things before you get into all those pages. But then ultimately you want to transfer that over, and you can use the boxes that we talked about today to help you do financial projections. If you know you're selling time-dependent commission work, you know you might need to charge $30,000 per piece, or $30,000 per, depending on what you are as a freelancer, $30,000 per branding kit or logo, in order for you to make back the $100,000 that you just took from such and such bank. Okay. Anonymous. What if after I follow your steps for figuring out how to price my services, my prices become a bit too high? How do I find clients who can pay me? Okay. So again, the conversation about too high. So, which is why I opened our class today with talking about value, because you want people to value what your service is. You want people to value what you do. So it's less about, you know, how much money it costs, and it's more about what value they'll get from it. Because we think about the things that, you know, people save money for, like a BMW. If somebody will save money for a BMW because they value that type of car, they might value the status symbol of it. They might value how the car works. They might value the horsepower. They might value the color. They might, they might value the fact that buying it will say something about them as an individual. So they will find money. People will find money for things that they value. So when you're getting to a point and you're saying, am I too high? Think about, but does the value meet that? Does your value meet a high price point? If you're doing something that's really hard to do, or if you do something really quickly that someone would take a long time to do, or if you do something that's going to align with people's values, which is why I said, make sure you're figuring out what's valuable to people. People will pay for things that they value. Okay. So Terry says, how to get investors as a new person of color designer? What do you get? Where do you get to them? So it depends. Like a lot of investors, like they might be part of networking groups. They might be, a lot of people now are doing, if you look on LinkedIn, a lot of people are doing Q&A sessions or pitch competitions. Finding investors is ultimately about networking. You have to get out and meet people, which is a little hard to do if it's in the time of COVID, but I would say look at places like LinkedIn and Twitter, show up to pitch competitions, join any kind of people of color in design networking groups. I'm pretty sure there's Slack channels for that. I know Hue, H-U-E, Design is a network for people of color designers. So you really just want to join networking events and organizations to get closer to investors. Okay. Ari says, how might this apply to an academic tutoring business? It's one revenue stream that I'm imperfectly building to help support one revenue stream that I'm building to help support my creative life. Okay, so Ari, your academic tutoring business, you're doing a freelancer service model, right? Because you can expand on that. So you're doing that one-to-one service where you're providing a service for one person. So you need to figure out who that person is, what the value is for them, and then figure out what your revenue streams are. So like, are they paying you per hour? Are they paying you for a lump sum? Can you decide that you want to record some of your tutoring sessions so that people can buy it later on? So maybe you offer, for a high price point, people work with you one-on-one, but for a lower price point, you might offer a recording that someone can learn from. So they won't get direct access to you, but you can make money from recordings. And then you also want to figure out, how do you want to market to people? So that's why knowing who your customer is important. Knowing how you're going to deliver it. Are you delivering it directly in person? So that might mean you want to market in local places. So you want to be marketing in like local community centers or local organizations. And if you're doing virtually, that expands who you can talk to. So you might want to open up how you market. Hope that helped, Ari. So Connie, what do you do when you realize your estimate isn't nearly enough as you begin and proceed with the job? So everyone is gonna everyone's gonna learn the lesson of undercharging. So that's just a lesson you got to learn. So you'll undercharge, you'll get to the place, and you will decide that you don't have enough money, but you've already given people the estimate. They've already signed off on it. It's really hard to ask for more money when you've already signed off. But you want to make sure that you're using those experiences to learn from it. So ask yourself, why did you not charge enough? Did you not figure in the expenses? Did you not figure out how much you were going to pay yourself? Did you not build in profit? Did you not consider taxes? Were you thinking that this was going to take less time than it actually did? You want to use those places where you sent an estimate and it's too low to learn, so that the next time you send an estimate, it's higher. And I always push people, especially people who are doing freelancing and consulting, to ask for the amount of money that feels a little bit uncomfortable to you. You want to ask for a lot of money, the amount, like if you say that you might be going for $5,000 and that feels like the number that you want to say, I would say add 20% to that, because something's going to happen. You're probably going to spend more time on it, and you're going to realize that you didn't charge enough. So I would say whatever amount that you're thinking, add at least 20% to it, especially if you're a freelancer or a consultant, because everything takes longer than you think it will take. Okay, so Carrie Roberts, I miss value proposition pairs a specific customer with a specific client. So you want to say, my specific customer does this for my specific client. So for instance, with Mark C, we said that Mark C works with global lifestyle brands, who is the specific customer, who want to have expressive images that represent their global community. So that is the specific value. So value proposition is specific client, specific customer. Kay says, can your MVP be free? So if your MVP is free, as we said, if someone is not paying you, they're not a customer. So you can test things out. You can absolutely test things out, but your MVP needs to have some plan in it so that you will ultimately charge. Because if people aren't paying you, you don't got a business yet. So you can test it out in the beginning just to get feedback. That can also be part of market research, but you ultimately want to build so that your next iteration of your MVP charges money. So you can start out, I say you can start it out as an experiment, but don't stay an experiment too long because you need money. Okay, so Raina says, what if you want to help people with graphic design? What would you recommend to focus on first? People who want to be graphic designers, or business owners, entrepreneurs who want to learn more about graphic design? I think, Raina, this is really getting back to, what will be fulfilling for you? Is it more fulfilling for you to work with people who want graphic designers? Think about who these people are. What are they graphic designing for? Are they graphic designing for party flyers? Are they graphic designing for their mom's birthday presents? Or do you want to work with entrepreneurs who want to learn about design? I think right now you have a situation where you're either selling the graphic design as it is, so you're doing the work, or you're working to teach other people how to do graphic design. So it's up to you to decide what feels best for you at this point in time. And again, you're just trying it out. You're just testing it out. Remember, we're getting out of our heads. We're just getting things growing. And maybe you start with one first and you realize that that's not the one that you want to move forward with. But I would say pick the one that resonates with you right now. If you're honoring your energy, you're honoring your experience, which one resonates with you right now? Okay, Kay again. I looked at your site days ago, loved it, and I read your analogy about the brand as a cupcake and the marketing as the cupcake recipes. Can you talk more about this, like how a brand is really more than just a logo or a cupcake? Okay, so we'll talk a bit about branding and marketing. And Kay, thanks for reading my blog post. So your brand is the foundation of your business. So your brand thinks about, who your customer is, what your value proposition is, how you're speaking to them, like how are you portraying your value proposition. So those are, think of it as like the foundation, like the base of the cupcake, and your marketing is how you dress all those things up. So if I say that, like, my brand is for creative professionals who want personal and business growth, so that is my brand. The way that I market that is I do things like this webinar. That's the cupcake, that's the icing on my cupcake. So my cupcake being, I teach creative professionals I hold space for personal and business growth. In a way that I do that is a marketing channel is through a webinar. So that is just the icing. But if I didn't have that foundation, if I didn't know what my brand was, if I didn't know what my value was, if I didn't know who I wanted to target and what my value to them would be, deciding whether or not to do this webinar would have been hard, because I'm just like, what is it laddering up to? What foundation do I have? Okay. Gabby says, I am a designer who wants to start my own streetwear brand, and I also want to enter the digital space where I will have digital fashion, but also provide my customers with physical fashion clothing. Would my customer be people who are gamers and millennials, or Gen Z who are in the space? Because I don't really know. How would I phrase my value proposition if I target gamers, millennials, and Gen Z? So again, when we talked about who our customer is, you want to get deep inside of who they are. So let's say, for instance, first let's start with, you're going to have to pick something, but don't think that the thing that you pick has to be the thing that you stick with. We're in an experimental phase, which is why we use a one-page business model canvas, so that if we hate it, we could throw it away. So we're in an experimental phase. We're getting out of our heads. We're honoring our energy. We're testing things out. So if we were to pick someone like a gamer, you want to get specific. What kind of gamers are they? Do they play traditional games? Are they playing games with the console? Are they playing games on their phone? Are they playing games on the internet? Are they in the metaverse? You start with, where are they playing games? Then you go into, how are they playing games? What's important to them? We want to get deep into who the people are. So you might want to do market research on the internet. You might want to interview some gamers that you know. You want to get as specific as you can on that one target, and then figure out what's the best way to sell to that one target. So that's why I said, start with one customer, try to sell to that one customer. If you find, for instance, that a gamer is really into the metaverse and only wants virtual clothing, maybe you design some digital fashion that is expressive to who they are as individuals. Maybe you're working with female gamers, and it's important to them to be able to express their style in the metaverse. The more you know about your customer, the more you can build out products that are valuable to them. Okay. Where best to research my customer geographic location? Again, pick somebody that you know from the internet, pick somebody that you might have ran into before, like, go to, like, web forums are good, like Reddit, to like figure out what people are talking about. You just want to have a complete picture of the person that you want to sell to, so you can basically research them anywhere. Is it people who follow you on Instagram? Is it this guy that you went to high school with that you think is really cool that you want to sell something to? Like, I just pick. Okay, Myra, another question. I'm an artist and I blog, and I'm building a business with my fans. How can I take my calling and turn it into a business? I have a marketing background, but I need to work on branding. Any tips? So start at the very beginning of the canvas. Who's my customer and what value can I provide for them? So as an artist who blogs, pick a customer. Who do you want to work with? Do you want to be an artist for the stars? Do you want to be an artist for the everyday person? Do you want to be an artist for people like you? Do you want to be an artist who teaches people? You want to be an artist for other artists? Start with who the customer is, figure out how you can be valuable for them, and then build around it. Okay, missed contact info. I will put it in. You can email me here. So that's my contact info. Okay. What's the best way to take advantage of Freelancers Union? Lloyd, that is a question for you. This person has been a member for a couple of years and has not capitalized, but they want to take advantage of the freelance union. So I will let Lloyd answer that when he has a moment. I will keep going. So we got 9 more minutes, but I'm going to try to get to as many as I possibly can in those 9 minutes. You can upvote them. This person said, I recently left my job and fully freelancing. How do I build in the health insurance benefits into my operating costs? It's part of my take-home pay. It's a business expense. So your health and insurance benefits is a business expense. So you can use that. You're technically an employee for your company. So that becomes part of your business expenses. Like you would call that your part of your payroll. So like you can bill that if you become, so it is a little complicated. So this is a question that will probably need more time to answer, but you can set it up where you become an employee of your company. And as an employee of your company, you can build your health insurance benefits into your operating costs. But in order to do that, it takes a specific tax delineation. So anonymous person, you can do it, but you have to technically position yourself as an employee within your company. Okay. So Carrie says, what are the 3 value sections? You want to create value, deliver value, and capture value. So delivering value is the who the person is. It's the what value you have for them. Creating value is the activities that you need to do, the partners that you get. And the capture of value is, making sure that your revenue exceeds your operating costs. But also you can capture value by, like we talked about, what's valuable to you, like determining, do you want to do time dependent revenue? Do you want to do time independent revenue? What kind of relationships do you want to have with your customers? How much time do you want to spend? How much money do you want to make? When you capture value, it's not just, capturing money. There's a lot of other things that can be valuable to you in your business. Do you think of those who purchase your books on Amazon as your customers? Yes, anyone who gives you money is a customer. But think about Amazon as an indirect platform. So you are not necessarily, Amazon has its own machine of how it can put you on the front page of things. Amazon is not your storefront. So technically it's an indirect channel. So you have to think about that as such. You can link people to your Amazon, but it isn't something like it's your own website that you can change the way it looks. But anybody who pays you money to receive your product is a customer. Okay. Well, Sarah says, I have nerves about gaining profit and even making ends meet, especially since I'm considering selling probably expensive custom goods. How do you recommend navigating the financial aspects of starting a business given these constraints? Okay, Sarah, so this is why I don't only work with my clients for business growth, but I work for personal growth too, because it takes a bit of a mindset shift to determine what's expensive, which is why I started with value, because value is relative. What's valuable to me might not be valuable to someone else. Like I might spend $68 on leggings. I might think in the back of my mind they're expensive, but they're valuable to me because they're made out of recycled water bottles and they feel really comfy. And I get to wear them when I'm teaching webinars. So you want to think about what's valuable to people and then making sure that the service that you provide expresses that value. You feel confident in expressing that value. If you are really good at what you do, you get to demand a high cost for things. So it is a bit of a personal thing that you have to overcome too, as you're like approaching how you sell your services. It's easy to start with a business canvas of like, okay, I know who my customer is and I know how I can be valuable to them. Okay, so Nicole said, where would figuring out SEO fit into the business plan, or is that a later date? So SEO is a marketing channel and that will go into the channel box. So once you figure out that SEO is helpful to you. So like if, for instance, you're selling something that people Google often, then SEO would be great for you. So like once you figure out that's part of my marketing strategy, then you can go to, okay, now how do I build it out? But first integrate it in your strategy. Okay, so I designed clothes. Oh wait, I've been working as a freelancer for ages, but haven't created a business entity. How important is it separating my personal from my personal and professional identity and finances? Very, very important, just in case, for legal reasons, in case someone sues you, you want to be able to protect your personal assets. So it can be as simple as getting a doing business as, which is a DBA. So that's like you, doing a DBA as, you know, fancy writer or editor. So that separates, you know, your business from you so that people go after the business and not you. But you can also do an LLC, which allows you to file taxes. And that way, it's really important to separate your personal and finance identities, personal and professional identities for finances, for legal purposes, for tax purposes. The easiest way to start doing it is, you know, get yourself a separate credit card for things. It doesn't have to be a business credit card. Just start charging all of your business stuff on that one credit card. When you figure out how much you're going to pay yourself, which is why it's important to set aside how much you're going to pay yourself, you know how much you're taking out of your business so that you can separate it in that way. But taking diligent records is helpful too. Okay, I'm going a mile a minute. I'm losing my voice. I got 3 more minutes. So I designed clothing and posted on Instagram per advice of a friend's partners. I have then asked people that I've had people ask me to design for them from my content. I'm not sure what to charge, so I'm taking courses like this to educate myself more. Okay, so I really quickly flashed the how much to charge screen. When you're deciding how much to charge, the things that you need to know: how much is it going to cost you to make? So if you are designing clothing, you know, do you have to pay for a design program to do it? Are you actually producing the clothes? How much is the expense of creating the thing? And how much is the expense of needing to buy a computer or needing to like subscribe to Adobe? So you need to figure that out. You need to figure out how much taxes you're going to have to pay for it. Look at your local tax rate. Is it sales tax that you're going to have to pay? Is it employment tax? Like, you know, if you're an individual and you operate as what we call 1099, which is like you employ yourself, you work for yourself, your tax rate could be anything from 30% to 50%, depending on where you are. So you need to put aside percentage for taxes, percentage of how much it costs, percentage for taxes. Then you need to decide how much do you want to make? How much do you want to make for a year? If you want to make $100,000 per year and you plan on selling 20 shirts per year, you got to do $100,000 divided by 20. You're selling, if you want to sell 200,000 shirts, you do the math there. So how much, and then you also want to decide how much profit you want to make. So like how much above what your expenses are, what your taxes will be, how much you want to pay yourself. Do you want to, you know, use as the profit that you're going to reinvest in your business? And, you know, you can start simple. Like if you feel like what you want to pay yourself and how much the expenses are, if that number feels too high for you, or feels not too high, just say it feels kind of high for you and you don't want to overprice things, which I say is relative. Just get yourself in the habit of adding on profit. So even if the profit is $1, you want to get yourself in the habit of, when you price something, including all of those factors, all of your expenses, your taxes, your personal play, and then profit. You want to get yourself in the habit. Okay, we are at 7:30. How many questions do I have left? Okay, most of these I think I kind of answered already. So I really appreciate all of you. I will drop in my email again. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for all the kind things that you said in the chat. I was paying attention and I was going. Good luck on your businesses, honor your energy, honor your personal experiences. Don't overthink. Test it out. If it doesn't work for you, which is why I like using the business model canvas, if it doesn't work for you, it's only one page. Start again.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shanae. It was absolutely awesome. And I could tell everyone in the audience was getting very inspired and very driven to work on this stuff. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed the webinar and you enjoyed connecting with other creatives in the chat, and we saw a lot of networking going on, which was awesome, we'd like to personally invite you to join us in the Parsons Entrepreneur Academy network. We're going to post a link in the chat where you can sign up for free, and you'll get updates about future webinars and events just like this one. Like I said, it's also an awesome space to network and connect and just share ideas it's a truly global community of creative entrepreneurs. If you have any questions about this webinar or anything else, feel free to reach out to us at pea@newschool.edu. And to find out more about Freelancers Union, you can check them out at freelancersunion.org. Again, that link should be being placed in the chat right now. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining, and have a great night. Bye.
Good night.